everyone. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a trucking profit and loss statement that I built, especially for a trucker or trucking. So this profit and loss is slightly have more feature than the other profit and loss, and this is the version 2. And so before I show you how this template works, I want to say that this is not financial advice. This is for informational purposes only. So if you purchase this template on Etsy, it will come with 7 tabs, and it will work with Google Sheet, and it will work with Excel. So what I'm showing you right now is in Google Sheets. So if you purchase this template, you're going to notice that you have 7 tabs. So we'll go over the tabs first, and then we'll do 2 examples so you can see how it flows through the financial statement and how to use this template if you purchase it. Okay, so the first tab is the income and expense tab. So this is a tab where you set up your information. You set up your company name, your revenue and expense description, and then all these description will flow to the other tabs on this template. And the next tab is the load summary tab. So this is where you set up your truck load, truck driver, truck number, the origin, destination, the loaded miles and empty mile. And then the income summary is where you record the income that you receive for all these load. And the expense summary tab is where you record all the expenses for all the load, and also you can record your business expense that's not related to a load as well. And the P&L is where it will automatically grab all the income, expense, and the load summary data that you have inputted earlier, and it'll organize it by month and by quarter, and also by year to date. So here you notice you can change the month, from to start month, if you want to start in June, or you start in April or January. So this financial report here, this P&L, will automatically be built for you once you input in all your data. And then this is a comparative P&L, meaning you can compare any 2 months or any quarter that you like. So basically it's just a reflection of this tab here, this P&L report, but you could pick any 2 months to compare the dollar change and the percentage change. And then the load search is basically an organized way to pretty much view your load. So for example, you can just enter in the load information here, and it will display all the relevant information according to that load. Or if you just have a business expense, you just put in the business expense identifier, and it'll show you all the expenses that you incurred for your business. Okay, so let's do an example. So let's first start out here. So here is where you can change your company name. So let's say you can put, sample company LLC right here, and it will change right here, right? It will update to all here, to this report, the P&L report and the comparative report. So in these 2 tabs, it will update for you. So revenue and expenses, here you can update all description according to your business. So here, if you change the revenue description here according to your business, it will also update in the P&L and the comparative P&L, and also in the load search as well, and on the income summary as well. So let's say we put load pay or load income, right? You see here, it's going to change to load income. And then on the P&L, it also changed to load income. Comparative also changed to load income. On the load search, it also changes. So this is where a centralized location where you can update the description according to your business. And on the expenses, broken out by fixed costs and variable costs. Same thing, you can update that as well, and also broken out by reimbursable costs. So let's say you want to change this to lease payment because you lease your truck. If you do, you can put lease payment. And then here, maybe you can put office supplies, right? So fixed costs are costs that, for example, a lease payment, right? Fixed costs are costs that is the same every month. It doesn't change, and you know what that amount is. Variable costs, it can change from one month to another. So that's why I put office supplies here, because, maybe in January I need to buy some office supply, but not in February, right? But lease payment, if I have a lease payment, it'll probably be $1,000 every month. I know what that is, and it's fixed. And then reimbursable costs, these are costs that you get back. You pay it out, but then you get reimbursed for it, right? So that's how you set up this information on this tab. And then once you set up the information according to your business needs, then you can work on the other tabs. So one last thing I want to mention is the formulas in this template looks at the unique letters or the text of all these descriptions. So make sure all your description are unique. Okay, please make sure they're unique. If you have two of the same, maybe just put a number right after. So if you have two load income, just put load income 1 and load income 2. Okay, so that's very important. Make sure all your descriptions are unique. All right, so after you're happy with your setup, then you can go to the load summary. So you can go here. Let's go do one. So first you need to give it a date. So let's say we start on 2/1/2030 right here. So you only enter data into the white cell. Truck driver number, let's say Jane Doe, right? Truck number, we'll just give it 22, and then load number. So also your load number needs to be unique as well. So make sure all your load are unique. Let me see, 101, and then client broker, example logistics. So this is just an example here. You don't need to put this information, but you can if you want to. An origin, let's say we're going from Portland, Oregon. I can't spell. Okay, and then destination is Seattle, Washington. I think that's about, it's like 300 miles. And then here you can put delivery date. Here you need to put delivery date. So let's say same date, because it's not that far to get from those two locations. And then here you can say maybe pending, and then loaded maybe about 300, and then this one will be 10 empty. So total, the gray cell calculates, let's say average MPJ is, let's say 10, average fuel cost maybe is 350. Oops, 350, not 550. Okay, and then total cost, it estimates if you need 31 gallons to get there, and it's $3.50. So total you need to pay about $108.50. So my expected pay for this load, let's say, is $3,000. Expected expenses like, I don't know, $1,500. Okay, so right here it calculated expected net profit for you. So 3,000 minus 1,500 is 1,500. And then this column here, V, W, and X, once you fill out the actual income and expenses to that load, then it'll pull the data here, and then you can do a comparison. Okay, not a comparison, but you can see what the actual versus the expected net profit is. Okay, so let's say we got paid, right? So like on 2/2/2030 I got paid, and this is regarding this load. So as you can see, whatever you set up here as your load, your unique load number, it would automatically be part of the drop down menu. So for example, if you add load 102 right here, you come here, 102 is going to be part of it, right? So that's a neat thing about this, is you're trying to associate each revenue expense to a load. Okay, so the load income, let's say I got 3,500, and I got also $400 for fuel surcharge, and then there's reimbursement, like maybe they give me $100 reimbursement, right? So total income, I have 3,900, right? So 3,500 plus 400, so I have 3,900 plus my 100 that I receive for reimbursement. So my total cash inflow is 4,000, which is calculated here for you. And in the expense, you can come here and log all your expense as well. So let's say, okay, so it's asking you what is this for. So load 101, expense type, let's say we have fuel expense, let's say 300, and then you can add as much expense as you want. Okay, you just keep adding on. And then let's say you have let's say other toll costs is like another 600. This is just an example. All right, so as you can see here, once you come here, it automatically fills to the P&L. So you remember when we record this, we recorded it in February, right? So February, we also recorded, we also recorded the expense in the February. So, um, so when you, so if you notice when we look at this P&L here, and then we come to the income side, right? We recorded 2030, which is February, and we also recorded the expense in February. So in the P&L, it only display data in February, right? So we recorded 3,500 in February, and we recorded fuel surcharge income of 400. So total we got 3,900, right? And then we recorded about $900 in variable cost. So I forgot to mention, whatever type of expense you pick here, it automatically knows if it's variable or fixed cost. So let's do one example. 2030. Okay, so load 1. If you come here and you record insurance, it automatically knows as fixed cost, right? Because on the insurance we put as fixed cost, right? On fuel and toll we put a variable. So we come here and we can say we add another $100 in fixed costs, and let's do 2030 as well, and we log this, and then we come here and we do reimbursement, right? So communication, it knows that it's reimbursable cost, right? Because we put it under here in the reimbursable cost. So let's say we put in another 100, let's just put in $50 right there. So on the P&L, you can see it's taking all the February data. So for one thing I want to point out is, so you spent $50 for reimbursable costs, but you got $100 back. So that means you have a profit on this reimbursement, right? You have a $50 profit. And here it's looking at all the inflow. So this is all your income plus your reimbursement received, and then all your expenses. So these are all your expenses that you paid out plus any reimbursable fees that you incurred, right? And then it'll tell you all the inflows and outflow. So because you got $50 more, you have more inflow. So what if this one was $150? So you spent $150, but you only got $100 back. So it means here that you are $50 in the hole, right? So as you can see here, you get less money, $50 less, because this reimbursable fee is no longer a reimbursable fee. This $50 is an expense to you, and here it also take that into effect, right? If you have a $100, you receive $100, and you also spend $100, your net impact is 0, right? So your net impact here is 0. So that's what I want to point out. And the other thing on this financial statement is very nice, is it tells you all the loaded miles, all these average truck MPG, average miles per gallons, and such like that, right? So as you input more data, it will fill out all these information. So let's say, for example, if you fill out something for March, right? For load 1, this is just an example, okay? So you put 6,000 here, you're gonna see it's gonna flow to March for 6,000, right? See right there. Okay, but that is just an example. We'll clear this out, and we'll clear this out, okay? So on the comparative P&L, how it works is that it just goes here, right? And you can come here, look at the drop-down menu, so February. So all this data here, it will just populate based on what month or quarter you pick. So we only populated February. So as you can see, the total is the same, right? 2,900. Your total trucking net cash inflow outflow is 2,900. So we come here, we look at February, the total is the same. So as you put in more data, you can compare between 2 months, okay? And then the load search is when you type in any load data here, and then it will populate that data. So we have load, I think 100, was it? What is that? Oh, load 101. So we put load 101. See, the data should populate. It'll tell you all the data that you have for that load. Okay, so it's very neat. It gives you a summary report here. Instead of having to go all the way back to the load summary and see and scroll all the way to the right to see how much money you've made, you can just do a load search right here, and then it can tell you all that data right away. So that is an upgrade on this template. Um, so another thing I want to point out or go through is, what if you have a business expense that is not related to a load? How would you record that? So what if you have like a lease payment, for example, or you pay for office supplies? That is not related to a load, right? That's like general business expense. So how would you um, input that in? So what I would do is, you can put a date. You can set this up, put a date if you want. You don't need to put a date if you're doing a business expense here, but I would say just put a date here and set up a business expense ID. So you do like, I will just put BUS and then AXP. You can put anything else you like. You can just put expense, as long as it's not related to a load, because this is a unique identifier, right? So here you just put a business expense there. You don't have to put anything here because it's not load related. So the reason why you want to set up an ID here is so that when you come to this expense here, so let's say on 2/1/2030, right, you can put a business expense, right, instead of a load. So here you can put a lease payment. So you know those fixed costs. So every month you record 1,000, right? So let's say on 3/1/2030, you also have another business expense, which is a lease payment. It's a fixed cost. You do another 1,000, right? And let's say on 3/15, you bought some office supplies, right? Business expense, and then you go to office supplies. Where's the office supplies? Office supplies there, and let's say you spend 350 on office supplies, right? So now on the P&L, you can see in February you're gonna have $1,000 lease payment. March you have another $1,000 lease payment. In March you also have $350 in office supplies expense. So let's see if that's correct. So in March, so this is March, we should have $1,000 of, yep. So we have $1,000 for lease payment, which we log, and another $1,000 in the lease payment as well for February, and then we log $350 in office supplies. So this P&L here, the nice thing about it, it's not only grabbing data for a load, it's grabbing data for all of your trucking business expenses, right? Whether that be a load or your business expense. So right here on the comparative, it's just also a summary, but on the load, let's say you don't want to look at the load, you just want to look at a business expense, right? Obviously it's business expense, it's just going to show you all the expense that you incurred. You see all the expense that you incurred. So total we inputted 2,000 in the lease payment, which is correct, and then we also inputted another 350, right, in March for office supplies. So total expense that we have for business expense is 2,350. So that's a nice thing about this load search, as you can see as well. And also in the load summary, if you come here, it also shows you all the expense because you don't have revenue, right? Just business expense. Okay, so that's a great thing about this template. It's not only pulling load data, but all your business expense. So tax season come, you can look at this financial report and see how much money did you make for your business. Profit, did you make a profit or did you have a loss? Okay, and then the last thing I want to share is I already have this filled out with more data, so you can see how this comparative report work. So pretty much I fill out all the information here, and then I'll have an example of a business expense that I have here, and then I added the income and expense, so you can see the P&L is all filled out, right? Because I put in all the data for 12 months, just as an example. So you come here on the P&L, you can start whichever month you want, right? Let's say some company starts in June. So start picking up data in June. So the data will move. Before you have January as starting, but now you have June as your starting fiscal year. So you can start, like, for example, you can choose different months as well. So, we're in 2025, and the reason why it's blank here is because I didn't put in any 2025 data. I only put in 2030 data. So that's why it's blank. So if I pick back 2030, you can see the data is populated. So the great thing about this template is you can use this for multiple years. As you can see, it can go through 2041. So you can use this template up to 2041. And then the other thing I want to show you is this comparative report here. Like I said, this drop down menu here on the comparative report is a reflection of this here. So if you pick a different year, it will show as a different year on the drop down menu, right? So let me show you an example. 2025, there's no data there, but you can see the drop down menu has changed to 2025 and 2026, right? So let's put this back as January, and then we'll do this as 2030. And as you can see, the drop down menu changes. So you can compare, let's see, we'll compare February, and then we'll compare January. So just know that the direction here is just taking column C minus column D. So just be aware of that, and then it'll tell you the changes between 2 months. So this should be your current month minus prior month. So you can see data here, populate, it tells you. So let me zoom this out a bit so you can see how it looks. Okay, and you can print this as well. Just highlight it and go to print. And then the load search, so let's go see what kind of load we have. So if I put load 2, L002, you can see data changes, right? It tells you all the analytics for that load. So that's how this template would work. I really think it's a really awesome template, at least in my opinion. But if you have any feedback, just let me know. Oh, and another thing I want to talk about is, if you ever wonder, like, I'm doing this in 2030, we're at an example, but if I were to input data in 2026, so we're in 2025 right now, right? So what if I want to work in another year? So for example, pretend that we're in 2030, and then next year, 2031, can I input data for 2031? Yes. So all you have to do is go here and put whichever month you want, right? You can put 1/1/2031. So the template is looking at the month and the year. So you put a load for 1, right? And you put 7,000 or right here, and then you can see here on this here 2031, you can see it populates here, right? But for 2030, it just populates February because that's where I put February's data for 2031. But if I do 2031, it would be for January, right? So you can use this for multiple years. You just need to change the year. So you can do this for multiple years. You can do this for 2025, 2026, 2027. You just have to change the drop down menu here, and then the data will populate. Okay, so I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions or concern, please reach out to me. And again, this template's available on Etsy. It's available in Google Sheet and in Excel. So thank you.